Hey, can your pull-up bar do this? Or this? Of course it can't, because this is the only bar in the world that can do that. But you're probably saying, what's the point? Well, let me ask you this. If you've ever done any dynamic bar work, such as kipping pull-ups or muscle-ups, and at the end of the set, you realize you've tore your hands, or your shoulders are just smoked from all the abuse from the swinging action, or perhaps you've had to break a set early because you've lost your grip on the bar. Now you're probably telling me, no, I don't have that problem because I use grips, right? Well, hold that thought. Think about this. Why were grips invented? The bar is rigid, it's static, it doesn't move. But your body does move, your body swings. So what has to happen? Something has to give. It starts with your hands, the grip on the bar. Your hands will rotate around the bar, and then it goes to your shoulders. As your shoulders flexing up, and then you finally, your torso, your low back, your hips swing so that you can perform your kipping motion. Okay, so let's talk about grips for just a second. Grips are excellent for providing a barrier between the bar and your skin so you don't tear your hands. That's one of the main features of grips. They also can sometimes extend the duration of your grip on the bar if you wrap them around the bar, hold that tight, and let the load transfer through your Velcro straps. However, even if you do that, I bet you'll find that you still regrip the bar quite a bit. And if you go back and watch some of your old videos, workout videos, you'll probably see that you have done lots of regrips using grips. But grips can be a pain logistically. So let's say you're doing a workout that includes butterfly pull-ups and maybe handstand walks or sandbag cleans or something where you don't want these grips in front of your hands. So what do? You twist them around, which can be kind of a pain, then you twist them back. Or if you don't, you just kind of let them flop out of the way and maybe grab a barbell. But they're just kind of a pain logistically. If you train with grips all the time, you're really not building that grip strength onto the bar that you need, which can carry over to things like, of course, barbell cleans or barbell work, dumbbell work, sandbag work, tire work, anything where grip is important. If you rely on your grips all the time, you're not training this grip and you may suffer when it comes to those movements. Also, it's another thickness, maybe a 16th or an eighth inch thickness that you're adding to the diameter of the bar. And so like for ladies or young kids where maintaining a grip on the bar is already a challenge, if you have a little bit bigger diameter that you're trying to grip, now of course it's even harder. And oh, by the way, so raise your hand if you've ever jumped up onto the bar with grips and you've missed and one flops under it or something, or you didn't grab one tight and the other one is tight and now you feel lopsided on the bar. I've done it. I know it's a pain. I hate it. And there's one last thing I was just going to say about grips. It seems that using grips may be kind of skirting the line according to the rule books. According to the CrossFit Games rules, which I have here, it says that athletes may not use protective gear in a manner that provides additional grip assistance or weight support. So does that mean that holding onto them and supporting the load through your wrist is a violation of this policy? I'm not so sure by the way this reads. However, there's definitely an advantage for doing that. So, we can just take that out of the equation by using the torque bar and not have to worry about the grips. Now, imagine if you could get all those benefits of using grips without those hassles that come along with grips. That is why I invented and I patented the torque bar. This pull-up bar has bearings on each end that allow the bar to rotate, and it has spring return torsion springs on each side that provide the spring back to center. So as you're doing your pull-ups, the bar will rotate with your hands. You don't have the slippage between your hands and the bar anymore. The bar rotates with your hands. And because it has springs, it goes back to center. Now, if you don't like that, it's simple just to install the pin. Now you're back to a static bar. Bar doesn't move. If you have things like strict pull-ups that you want to do, I don't do them with the rotation. I like to have the pin in. Or if your preference is just to have a static bar, you can still do that. But if you're like me and you like to save your hands and your shoulders, let it rotate. You can decide if you want to engage one or two of the torsion springs. Right now I have them both engaged so it doesn't twist quite as far. And I am about 190 pound athlete, so to me that extra weight, we don't want it to rotate quite as far. But if you're lighter, like if you're ladies or if you're kids or smaller gentlemen, you may want to open up one of the clamps so that this spring does not engage, but this one still does. And your lighter weight will now get that same rotation that I would have as a heavier athlete with two springs engaged. So now, if you're lighter, your hands won't tear again on the pull-up bar. There's one more fun thing about this bar, one more feature, is if you have the pin pulled out, you have this clamp open, you have this clamp open, now the bar will spin 360 degrees, around and around and around. And the cool thing about this is it's a unique way to test your grip. So if you hang from this bar without any resistance and it's free to rotate, it is definitely harder to hang on. That's why you see these challenges like on the internet where if you can hang from a spinning bar for 100 seconds, you win $100 or whatever it is. So it's another feature of this bar that allows you to test your grip. Okay, now we're going to do a little demonstration. I'm going to do 2 sets of butterfly pull-ups. I'm going to do 2 sets of 20 butterfly pull-ups. First, I'll do with the pin engaged, so it's a static bar. And then I'll pull the pin out and do another set of 20 with just the torque bar spring action. And we'll be watching for the pointer to rotate. We're also going to be watching my hands to see if I maintain grip or if I end up having to re-grip in either of the 2 sets. Okay, let's give this a try. This is first set of 20 with the pin locked in, so it's just like a static bar. I'm not using grips on this one. Okay, now let's go with the pin out and use the torque bar action. Zero regrips. Okay, one last thing I decided I should try is another set with grips on. I did give myself a little rest because I needed it, and in order to give these a fair test, I needed just to give it a little break. So let's see how I do with 20 with grips. Ugh. Yeah, I'm not a fan of grips. I just don't maintain that contact with the bar. So do what I did a long time ago. Ditch the grips. Go with the torque bar. Save your hands. No tears. Extend the duration of your grip throughout your set. I did mention that I'm a master's athlete. I'm 50. Anything I can do to save my shoulders is obviously beneficial. So join me. Go for a torque bar. Thanks.